Hypertrophy is defined as an increase in muscular size and has positive benefits to both health and performance. To establish a consensus on how resistance training variables should be manipulated to optimize muscle hypertrophy, Roberto and colleagues conducted an umbrella review, which, put simply, is a review of reviews, whereby the work involves reviewing the findings from different systematic reviews and meta-analyses. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, will be a summary of their recommendations for the prescription of resistance training programs to maximize muscle hypertrophy. Recommendation 1. Volume and frequency. 2 to 3 sets per exercise, covering at least 10 weekly sets for each muscle group, is recommended. A weekly volume greater than this does not seem to offer any additional hypertrophy benefits. Although training frequency does not directly influence hypertrophy gains when volume is equated, there is significant effect favouring higher frequencies when volume is not equated. Therefore, training frequency can be used as a tool to modify the overall weekly training volume. Moving on to recommendation 2, intensity. In terms of intensity, light or heavy loads can be used. However, what is key is that you reach or get close to muscle failure. Variation of loads, for example above and below 60% of 1 repetition maximum in your program, is appropriate. However, using higher loads seem to offer the greatest adaptations. If recovering from an injury and heavy loads can't be used, blood flow restriction might be an appropriate training strategy to use. Experienced lifters can also incorporate blood flow restriction into their training to provide a novel stimulus. Recommendation 3. Contraction type. It is appropriate to combine both concentric and eccentric contractions to optimize hypertrophy. However, due to high absolute loads that can be used during eccentric contraction, it seems that eccentric contractions may offer some additional advantages compared to concentric contractions. Moving on to recommendation 4, repetition duration. In terms of repetition duration, a wide range of times between 0.5 and 8 seconds can be used to stimulate hypertrophic adaptations. However, repetition duration beyond 10 seconds with very slow movement speed is counterproductive and should be avoided. Recommendation 5. Periodization and time of day. Regarding periodization, which refers to the logical and systematic process of sequencing and integrating training interventions to reach peak performance at appropriate times, as long as training volume and the principle of progressive overload are adhered to, the periodization model adopted can be down to individual preferences. In terms of the time of day you train, there is no evidence in favouring a specific time of day on hypertrophy. Again, the time of day you train very much comes down to personal preference and the time you have available to actually train. And that concludes the recommendation from Roberto and colleagues' umbrella review. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.